Hey, my name is Serena. Welcome to my channel, Nirvana Aquatics, and my very first YouTube video. So I have been doing live streams with Vibes Aquatics, Eddie, for a few weeks now, and I've been really enjoying it. And he's been encouraging me to kind of branch out and do my own things. So I decided that I would make my first official, like, long form talky type video. So we'll see how this goes. If you like what you see, you can hit that thumbs up and maybe subscribe. Uh, Put a comment down below if you care to. Hope you enjoy. I built a tank. I'm currently water testing it. So the story behind this is I am trying to build a fish rack in my office. And that's why this shelf is in my living room right now, because I really need help getting it down to my garage. And I just have not asked anybody for help yet. So if you're interested in helping me lift a heavy thing, I'll feed you and pay you. Anyway, I decided to do a shelf rack in my office, and one of the things about the IKEA tanks that I don't like is dimensionally they don't fit very well on like a standard shelf unit. So like, for example, the Aqueon tank that's a 10 gallon that most people use for breeding, it's like a little bit over 20 inches. So unless you have a shelf that is a little bit over 20 inches, you're gonna have overhang on the back and front, and I am limited on space, so I don't wanna have any overhang on the shelves essentially. So with these tanks, since they're made out of glass shelves, they're dimensionally going to fit more perfectly on the shelving units that I have chosen. So I ended up getting the panels for the smallest possible tank that you could make. I based this whole thing off of Tanner Serpa's IKEA tank build video. I can link that in the description below if you're interested. The one thing that people kept asking me about this is, why did you use black silicone? Well, I'll tell you why. The first reason is because Tanner Serpa used black silicone, and I trust him. I trust his design expertise, and I trust him to know what he's doing. So I ended up getting the black ASI silicone, and man, that stuff is strong. I've used the GE silicone a number of times to rebuild tanks, and it is nothing like this ASI silicone. Actually, this is what it looks like. Comes in the tube, and I only used maybe about a third of what's in this tube. So you can get a lot out of one tube, and I actually used too much silicone, which is something that you can very easily do. So less is more with this stuff. I definitely could have used less, especially on this 14-gallon tank. What I didn't expect is it cures in like 10 minutes. Such a short working time that it actually like made me kind of panic a little bit. And that's why the silicone like on the inside like seams, it looks like crap. Like honestly, it is the worst silicone job I think I've ever done. And I've rebuilt a few tanks, but it's been a number of years. And I am ashamed of how bad this tank looks on the inside, but that's okay because I learned a lot. I'm no longer gonna try to build tanks on this granite countertop because I'm 5'3". So having the leverage to like lean over inside a tank that is essentially at my shoulder height was not a fun experience. Do not recommend trying that. So from now on, I will build on probably our coffee table. It's a map table, so it's much lower to the ground. And I will then have the ability to just lean over the top at my normal height instead of getting a step stool and like leaning on the counter and kneeling on the counter. And so the reason that I used the black silicone is because, as you can see, I don't know if I can do you see that like prismatic effect of the light passing through the glass right there? That is because these shelves are tempered glass, which means you cannot drill them, you cannot cut them, which is why it's convenient that they're the sizes they are, because they make a perfect tank. You just pre-cut pieces, put it together, easy. But because the edges are sanded and the glass is tempered, the edges actually show up dark. So as you can see, if I like kind of shift over the top here, do you see how that appears dark? That is why I don't actually believe that clear silicone, I'm gonna try one. I'll try one with clear silicone just to see what it ends up looking like. But I don't believe it will actually look better. In fact, I think it might look worse because of the dark edge, because the silicone is almost gonna look like a little bit white, whereas the black kind of blends with that dark edge and doesn't make it as obvious. And I'm not saying that the tank doesn't look nice. It is a rimless tank. Of course, it's going to look fairly nice, but it's not like a high-end, low iron glass UNS tank like some of my nano tanks. And that's okay because their purpose is going to be a fish rack. They're going to look uniform, which is going to be very nice. But as far as like them looking like a super high quality, like low iron glass tank, you're not going to get that with this. So if you're expecting that, you're going to be disappointed. I was not expecting that. I already knew that this is probably what it was going to look like. And you can watch Tanner Serpa's video on it. His looks very similar. His obviously looks nicer than mine because he knew what he was doing with the silicone. But I'm water testing it right now. Even though my silicone job is terrible, it's holding. Fingers crossed it continues to hold. I'm probably going to water test this for like a week, potentially more, because I really want to be able to trust it, because it is going to go where my current low iron UNS cube is. I'll show you what that currently looks like. It is terrible looking. I've neglected it because I know I'm going to take it down. So this tank and this little stand right here, you can see this stand is quite large for this tank size. So the plan is to take the tank that I built and put it on that little, it's like an end table thing. So put it on the end table. It's like the perfect size to have like an inch around the edge. And hopefully this will be Lemon Grab's new palace. Lemon Grab is my diva of a longfin lemon blue-eye pleco that I stopped feeding him rapashi for a few weeks and I didn't see him much. And I was feeding him wafers instead. Well, what I didn't know is when I wasn't seeing him, he was getting very, very skinny and getting very, very unhealthy. He essentially starved himself because he did not want to eat the wafers, the peasant food that I was feeding him in place of the rapashi. I have since been feeding him rapashi again. He got treated with Canaplex. His bacterial infection cleared up okay. He still looks not great, but he's gaining the weight back. He is looking a lot better than when I first found him. When I first found him, like half of his face was melted off. It broke my heart. But since he's a diva and wants the rapashi and the fish in the tank that he's normally in, will just eat it because it's rapashi and it's good food and they love that stuff. He is going to get his own tank, potentially with tank meats that are not likely to eat the rapashi, maybe some shrimp. But this is going to be for him. I originally was going to put shrimp and guppies in it, but I am very attached to that fish, and personally, I don't think it's worth it to try again in the bookshelf tank. He did great in there. I just don't think that him being with the other fish and me not being able to feed rapashi in that tank without them eating it, I think he'll be healthier in his own tank where he can get fed more regularly and with the food that he'll actually eat. The fact that fish can be so picky that they starve themselves like nearly to death is mind-blowing to me. So yeah, I'm making an entire new tank for one fish that is kind of a diva. So, but we do it all for the health of the animals, right? So I have a large bulbitis fern that's probably going to go in here. I've actually been chopping it because it's a little too big for this tank right now. So somebody else is going to get a cutting of that today. But yeah, we'll see what kind of scape I can come up with. It's kind of an odd shape. It's like, so it's 16 inches from, you know, front to back, because this is going to be up against the wall over there. And then this distance is about 14 inches. And then the distance from bottom to top is about 15 inches. So like generally speaking, it's kind of a weird size, but it's the perfect size for an adult male bristlenose pleco that needs his own space. So we're gonna do that. I'm picking up a light for it, probably this evening. So that'll go on here. I'm gonna do a Lamini Asta 120. I have a couple of the Asta 20s on this tank and then this tank right here. I love them. They're great lights. So I'm hoping that the 120 on this tank will be awesome. It'll probably be a little overpowered, but they are adjustable. So we'll see how it goes. I will continue to update you guys on this tank, and yeah, I guess this will be a fun new adventure for us. I'll let you know if it leaks. I'm really paranoid. I have a leak alarm. I don't know if you can, yeah, this is a leak alarm. And I usually use it to fill my water buckets when I'm making RO water, which is why it has the hair clip and the towel around it. But I'm so paranoid about this leaking that I have like a barrier around the edge of it. It's next to my sink even in case I need to like drain it really quickly. And I have the leak alarm on it so that it doesn't flood our apartment when I'm sleeping. So yeah, whole new experience for me building a tank from scratch. The only tanks that I've built from scratch before were so tiny that I did them with like plate glass that you can buy from Home Depot. And that was years ago at this point. So yeah, I will keep you guys posted. Thanks for stopping by. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up, maybe make a comment or subscribe. It really would help me out, especially as a brand new YouTuber. Thanks for sticking around. Glad to have you here. Stay curious, friends.